The story I give to my students. So we've spoke about, and I'm fascinated. If you must give me some information, if on the Rosetta mission there've been Egyptian engineers working, what a lovely additional story for me to tell my students. That's fantastic that I've learnt something, and I can, and it makes that message that certainly big space missions, certainly the CERN, the particle collider, it's a global. There are scientists from Egypt, from China, from India working on these things. So
I'm not sure, I just try to make Turing from that.
So we've got this idea of, so I'm asking the question, what is a comet made from? So I ask my students that, and this is a way of teaching them. So I'm going to basically make in this bowl, and all I'm going to do is throw into this bowl the components that a comet's made from. Now we know this is true. How do I know this is true? Because we've been there. We've landed on a comet, and that's happened in November. So it's happened whilst you've been teaching your students. So we found that a comet, there's lots of water. Now, something we were talking over there about evolution and the origin of life, and it answers all these questions you may want to raise with your students or you may not. But one thing I say to my students is, there's a real issue about where the Earth's water came from. We don't know where the Earth's water came from. We do know comets have lots of water. We do know that during the Earth's formation, there was a period called the late bombardment when it was hit by lots of comets. Does that mean the water from the Earth came from comets? We don't know. But what a fascinating thing to get your students thinking about. Right. We know that comets contain some of the oldest rock in the solar system, because from where comets come from, the rock, the silicates, the sand, the grit, the gravel that makes up a comet was from the earliest origin of the solar system. So these were the original building blocks of the solar system. So I'm going to put some sand and grit in my comet. Okay? And you get this in front of the students, and you get one of your students to come and stir it, and they think they're making a comet. So it's a bit like a cookery lesson. We know that a comet has got lots of graphite in it, carbon. Now that's really interesting because we're carbon-based. And I just leave it there. I'm teasing my students. I'm getting the students thinking, oh, is Andy saying that we come from comets? No. I'm saying that comets have got lots of carbon in, and we happen to be carbon-based. This is powdered graphite. Be careful, when you're doing this, just be careful, it gets all on your hands. And you stir it up, and there we go, and the students are wondering what on earth's happening. So you're making a big thing of it. You go, oh, stirring it up like this. And the students are thinking, what on earth's Andy doing? Then we know that comets have alcohols in them. We know that comets have got phenol, which is a sophisticated alcohol, but it's also got methanol and ethanol. So I model it by putting red wine. Of course, it's not red wine. I would never take a red wine into school. You just make it's coloured water. But you tell them it's red wine. Of course, they all laugh, and you put red wine in. It's clearly not. You wouldn't take that into schools. But so there, we're making it up. And again, the students now are thinking, what's on earth to do? And then you say, Worcester sauce it's called, or soy sauce. Soy sauce? Yes. Right, so Worcester sauce or soy sauce?
We're going to make a cake.
Making cakes, making food. But it's surely a comet's not got soy sauce in. It's not the soy sauce. What makes soy sauce bitter, that taste? It's the amino acids. This has got lots of amino acids, and we found lots of amino acids in comets. Now your brighter students are starting to put things together. Hang on a minute. In here, water, amino acids, carbons, sort of water, alcohols. Oh, they're the building blocks of life. And there is a theory that life may have been seeded on the Earth by comets. We don't know, but it's there. Right, there's one other thing. comets have got an awful lot of carbon dioxide in them. But because where they come from, carbon dioxide is frozen. So I'm going to add some frozen carbon dioxide. And I have to wear my gloves because the frozen carbon dioxide I've got is at minus 78 degrees C. So, just as I come in this tub is a tub of dry ice, a tub of frozen carbon dioxide. It's called dry ice. And so you add, this is dry ice. And then the students is it. And the students can't put their hands in it because it's minus 78 degrees, but they can hold a cloud. You can pick up a cloud. You also hear it boiling cold. And there is, it's spitting, so that's why you can see it's spitting. So that's why you have to keep, yeah, it's very cold. And of course that's carbon dioxide, so that's why it's denser than air, that's why it's sinking. And then that's why it spits, that's why you have to ask your students to stand back away a bit. But remember I've put all the ingredients together for a comet. And then, with my gloves on, if I pick it up, I have made a comet. And that is what we think a comet is. Very dark, hissing, fizzing, look at the carbon dioxide spitting off. That's what we think the surface of a comet is. And we've visited here. Our lander has landed down in one of these crevices like that. And it's freezing cold, it's got hissing, fizzing, a right mess. But the theory of comets is called a dirty snowball. And that's what a comet is. It's meant to be a very dirty lump of snow and ice. And that's what we think. Sorry, I used to teach, that's what we think a comet is, but of course now we know what it is because we've been there. Now that's a lovely story for your students, and that's why we study English, maths, etc. Sorry, not English, but maths, science, technology in our subjects, because we can build rockets, landers that have gone to here. And it's happened like since November, since your students have been at school.
Carbon dioxide gas change into a normal state again. It's still in solid state.
In a comet, this is a solid state. So, but you can see as it gets closer to the sun, it will heat up, turn back into gas. But that's what produces the tail.
Yeah.
So you can see. So just when I lifted it up, you can just about it's still doing here.
Yeah.
Your students can see the comet producing the tail. You can see the gas coming off from it.
When astronomers landed on this comet, that